Welcome to the latest episode of the Target Practice Podcast with Charlie Jewett and Bobby Alford. This show is for insurance agents who are ready to earn more target premium by growing their practices. In addition, Charlie and Bobby will share strategies on how you can elevate your business and provide an exceptional customer experience. Now here are your hosts, Charlie and Bobby.
And welcome back to the Target Practice Podcast. I'm Bobby Alford. He's Charlie Jewett. This is episode number 8, How to Be Found Online. So, you may notice if you've typed in Charlie Jewett or Bobby Alford, mainly Charlie Jewett, because I still am building my credibility online, you will see 4, 5, 6 pages worth of content. Blog posts, podcasts, all these things, resources, books he's written. He has a presence online. A lot of us are envious of that. We want to create our own. We have to set our own name out into the market. And this episode is going to be kind of more of a dialogue, nothing scripted or anything, but figuring out best practices for building your own brand. We think, and I think, every agent should have their own brand. You don't need to be relying on Bobby and Charlie to produce content, to bring you clients, all those things. You should have your own brand, even if you are working at Northwestern or TD Ameritrade or whatever, name a company. If you work at a large financial brokerage or you work at whatever, you are still the product. They can leave that company, but if you are the reason they stay, you are your own brand, whether you realize it or not. And so in today's market, we try to set ourselves apart online because that's usually the first place people find us. If you're online marketing like Charlie and I, that's really the first place they find us because we don't leave our Zoom rooms. So I'm going to throw it over to Charlie, but I found Charlie online. And I started doing research like we talked about in the last episode about how to create your own content and your own drip campaigns. I was doing research, listening to podcasts like you are. If you're listening to this, you may have found us this way as well. And by doing that, by staying ahead of the market, figuring out what's out there, I stumbled onto my man, Charlie Jewett, and then started to fall in love with him. He's way with words. Yeah, dude, it's a bromance. Cheers. And ultimately became his business partner and am where I'm at today because of him. But he had his name out there first. He had created Renovating Retirement, Charlie Jewett, all the things around his name when you search it. And I'm going to let him talk about how he created that and where we can glean information from.
Well, probably very good news for everybody is I've never done SEO. I've never done any of it on purpose. I don't pay for Google rankings or anything like that. It's probably a great idea. I just don't know how to do it, and I have never done it. My approach by accident was I was very opinionated, had an angle, had some passion, and just put a lot of content out. So it was organic. And the reason that's good news is because it is the time-consuming, cheap way to do it, the less expensive way to do it. That's doing laundry in the river. We mentioned on the last episode building your own drip campaign, the kind of easy no-cost drip campaign of just recording a video every week. You may or may not know, depending on the format you're listening to or watching, that we're recording this. It is video and audio. So there's an audio podcast that's being recorded at the same time as a video that goes on YouTube. So you will want to do that for those 52, every week that you do your little here's what I learned this week, or your financial update, or your tips and tricks, or your financial nuggets, right? You will want those on your YouTube channel. A YouTube channel you can create with any Gmail address. Every Gmail address comes with a YouTube channel. You go up to the top of Gmail, and there's 9 little dots. You click there, go down to YouTube. When it opens, you go to My Channel. We can show you that. We'll probably create helpful videos and things like that. But my suggestion is, let's not start with my suggestion. Let's start with why are we even talking about this? If you get your name out there, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, giant companies that pay to be on blimps, right? You're not going to put Renovating Retirement on a blimp. You're not going to put Charlie Jewett on a blimp. Yet. Okay, that will come there. Oh, see why I'm with Bobby? Big thinker. The average insurance agent as Dean Jackson says, does not need your name out there. You need their names in here. It's response marketing, direct response marketing. You want to get people to raise their hand and say, can we talk? Okay. But one of the things that really helps, it's called social proof. One of the things they're going to do, especially if they find you online, like Facebook or something, who is this guy? Who is this woman? Who is this person? If they go search and it says, Joe Schmo arrested for bombing this country, that's bad, right? If you've been put in jail for financial crimes or whatever, that's not good. Bad news is the worst.
And if your name is Joe Schmo, maybe change it.
You might want to change your name. Use an alias of some sort. Joe Schmee, Josh Mo. We don't know. Change it a little bit. So if you have bad information, that's a problem for everybody. If you have no information, it's almost as bad. Not because they're going to go, no way, but they're just going to not do anything. Because the fear of the unknown, working with someone that you can't even research, feels, in my opinion, feels uncomfortable to people. You want to be able to be found. You want to have a presence online. You don't have to pay a lot for that. And, by the way, you can create it and give it to them. It just came to my mind as we were talking. You don't have to wait for them to search you. You can say, if you'd like to know more about me and what I do in the industry, you can go here. You can actually create a link that takes them to your YouTube channel or to whatever. But I don't know everything about the internet. I've just watched.
And that's where you control the message, and that's marketing. If you leave it to them to find, and you don't have that footprint that Charlie has created over 18 years in the industry, then you may want to control that message. That's more my speed, getting my content out there. Like I'm a year in, right? And so getting that out there, controlling that message paints whatever picture I want. Like we talked about in a previous episode, I can record 15 videos to get one good one, and then that becomes my content, right? Yep. And if I control that message, then I don't have to worry about what they find. But for Charlie, he's got a footprint, right? And he did so with just sweat equity and just time. Go ahead.
And you can see, well, you can't see, but I'll tell you, the book that's made me the most money was 28 pages long. Matter of fact, somebody got angry at me for calling it a book, and that's fine. We can call it whatever you want to. But 28 pages, like if you have, and I'm not saying you have to start with writing a book. I'm saying there's no reason not to. We're working on that with Bobby. Like, let's get a book out. You know what I mean? Easy stuff. Easy stuff. YouTube videos. Like, no question about it. You can post a video every day if you wanted to. TikTok videos, things like that. Instagram. If you go to my Instagram account, you can see pictures of graphs or pictures of financial things where I make a comment, or pictures of my dog sleeping peacefully. And I will write, why does my dog sleep so peacefully? Because every day the meal shows up in the morning and at night. And that's a good retirement plan. The way you'll be peaceful in retirement is to know that no matter what happens, the bills are paid. And you can't do that with the stock market. Get in touch to learn more. You take any photo, Instagram, YouTube. Now, my secret sauce when I started my podcast, I don't do it as much anymore, but my secret sauce when I started my podcast was answering questions on Quora. Mm-hmm. And I don't mind giving that away for free. I would rather change the industry than keep it like, I'm the only guy. I mean, like, the more people answering questions with truth on Quora and fighting the bad guys, the better. Yeah. So Quora is not the only place you can answer questions. You can join groups in Facebook. I don't like networking. I don't like communicating. Well, I like communicating. I don't like conversations that much, or going back and forth in groups and arguing and stuff like that. But you can just get out there and get very active. So what you're posting on Facebook, what you're putting on YouTube, what you're putting on TikTok, what you're putting on Instagram, this is interesting, Bobby. If you want the abs, the abdominal muscles, you do the sit-ups. Mm-hmm. You want to lose the weight. You and I both do this at times. We go, okay, what are we going to do? We create this plan, and then you just have consistency. Let me tell you one you do by accident. You want to smell nice and feel good. You bathe frequently. Let's say it's every day. You can't take a long bath every 30 days. And then just have it function. There's some things that can't be batched, right? They have to be done consistently. This is one of those things. If you created a list and put on your wall, which I've done at times, which said Instagram post, Facebook post, answer a question on Quora, put something on YouTube. Seriously, it would be less than an hour or two a day to hit all of them. Yeah. And you'd have more content than almost anybody else. in 6 months, in a year, I can't prove this, in 2 years, when's the best time to plant a tree? 15 years ago. When's the best time to do anything? Like now. The next best time is do it right now, right? It will evolve like the compound effect. It'll look like nothing's happening.
Yep.
And then as you take $1 and double it every day, you get to the point where it's like bang, 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 or you bet 10 cents a hole at golf. By the 13th, 14th hole, when you lose, it sucks. You know what I mean? That it never looks like it's working, but it never gets to the compound part if you don't do the part that doesn't look like it's working. You've got to put in the effort and the work. You can do that with the things we're talking about. Answering questions on all the places you can find. Quora is the big one. Posting things. YouTube and Quora. If I had to pick two, Bobby,
yep,
I'd pick YouTube and Quora. If I had to pick a third one, I'd probably pick Instagram.
And that's because why? Because you're comfortable in front of the camera, and the Quora questions in particular, it's very much a very specific market. It's an educated audience, I guess, an educated audience that's asking very articulate questions. It's not like going over to Reddit, right? There's a different customer over there. So if you chose those, they would fit you. You may like a very short 30-second video and maybe a TikTok or a YouTube short or the Facebook Reels or Instagram Reels, whichever one it is nowadays. Yeah. So, and by the time you listen to this, maybe totally different. It may be like smoke signals are back. I don't know. But ultimately, and this is where I learned from marketing, the tipping point is consistent action. And like what the marketers that I've hired and have worked with me, 100 videos. If you can do 100 videos in 100 days, you will see results. And it may not be the most amazing results, but it will be results. And by the time you get up to 200, man, everybody sees you. And so we've evolved this process. Charlie did 80 podcasts in 80 days. That is amazing. And that alone built traction. Right? It's hard to do. Some of them, as you listen to the early ones, he's in his truck. He's got his friend there. He's quiet. And he's just like recording something. And I love it because I go back and listen to it. And it's like the guy that I know. And, 10 years before I met him, it feels like. But now you go through and you bust out a YouTube video a day, an 8 to 10 minute video. And if you get through 3 months of content, you will be found. We've now extrapolated that out where we're shooting this video right now. It's also going to be a podcast. It's also going to be transcribed and put on our blog, the Target Practice Podcast. And that is going to be a resource for anyone who finds this because we want to be a valuable resource to any agent or financial advisor in the space. And we want to do that because we want to change the industry. Now, not everyone is going to be able to do that right off the bat, but everyone has a cell phone. Everyone can record and look into it and create the content that will eventually become your brand. And one last thing I will say is you don't have to know what your brand 10 years from now will be today. That can change and probably should change. So don't overthink it. Take the action just like Charlie did. When he built the flywheel that is now his content out there, it was from just committing and taking action. Would you agree with that?
Totally. Be in motion, adding value, and the right clients. I don't know what you want to call it, but there's a fate thing going on. There's something called reality that controls what actually happens that's not me. And when you're not out there, you don't hang your shingle, it doesn't happen at all. But when you hang an ugly shingle, you get some people, and then you make it better over time. You have to just start. You use the 80% principle. When it's 80% ready, you release it.
Yep.
Your audience tells you the 20% that's wrong, you fix 80% of that, and you're at 96, you're kicking butt. You know what I mean? So you have to just start. As a matter of fact, as we're talking, I was going to do it offline, but I might as well say it on the air. I think you and I should create a product, should create a service to buy, which is 100 videos in 100 days, where we actually do it with a group together. You just pay to play, and you end up 100 days later having those, and then maybe there's a follow-up service, which is like, now how do you go? Where do you put them? How do you grow your audience or whatever? Because the other thing is having 1,000 true fans. They say feed you for life. You got 100 videos and 1,000 fans. Those aren't big numbers. Mm-mm. Those are not big numbers.
No, and you could steal from a lot of, and like I'm a big business person. I like to read business books and get into the granular, the lean startup, the 0 to 1, Peter Thiel, all these great things that are written out there, and you can basically all of them say if you are not. Yeah, I know.
I saw you smile. I'm like, I never heard of any of these.
I saw the smile. I was just going to go right through.
Sorry.
And so basically the takeaway is if you're not ashamed of the first product you put out or the first anything you put out, you waited too long. You need to just take action, get it out, get market feedback, and pivot. You go through and you're like, honestly, it took me all year working with Charlie to finally get up the gall to put out content. And that's on me. That's on the space between my ears, right? That is, and I can speak circles around most people because I've learned at the foot of Charlie, and I know what this industry is, and I understand the products. But I couldn't get outside of myself to put it out there. So I would encourage everyone, and we'll create stuff that's going to make it easier for you later, but really create content. Put yourself out there, get market feedback, course correct. The last thing I would say is one of the greatest little marketing tidbits I got was, what is your 4% of the 4%? Meaning, I want to work with people that have served in the military. Okay, great. Those people are this much, it's 4% of the population. Out of the military, 4% of them are on submarines like I was. Therefore, my market could be 4% of the 4%, which would be just military submariners. And the takeaway there is that if I speak to that audience, not only will I connect with them wholeheartedly, because I can speak to that, right? But also people will hear the authenticity in your voice. And even if it's not for them, they will refer it to someone else. Hey, this guy, he's speaking your language. I don't understand anything about submarines, but this guy knows, and he's in financial services. You need to talk to him. Yeah. So that's my last little how to niche down.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And there's endless niches. So you can build a huge company by having 20 niches, but in that niche, everything speaks directly to that person.
Absolutely. And be authentic. Put yourself out there and be authentic. That is sales, and that is how you're going to be found online and build your brand over time. And at that, I'm Bobby Alford. This is Charlie Jewett. This is another episode of Target Practice Podcast.
Thanks so much for listening to the Target Practice Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you have time, please subscribe to the podcast and consider rating and reviewing the show. We'd sure appreciate it. And for show notes, resources, and to connect, shoot on over to targetpracticepodcast.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next time on the Target Practice Podcast.